I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood where nothing ever happens. At least, that's what I used to think. This happened about a year ago when I was home alone for the weekend. My parents were visiting family out of state, and I had the house to myself. It was around midnight when I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, when I heard something outside. At first, it sounded like rustling, like a small animal moving through the leaves. I ignored it, but then I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate footsteps. I got up and peeked through the blinds of my bedroom window. My backyard was dark, lit only by the faint glow of a street lamp, but I could make out a figure standing near the tree line. He wasn't moving, just standing there, facing my house. I felt my stomach drop. My first thought was that it was one of my neighbors, maybe someone cutting through yards, but this person was standing completely still. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, shining it through the window. The second the light hit him, he moved fast. He bolted toward the bushes and disappeared from sight. My heart was racing. I locked all the doors, made sure the windows were secure, and double-checked the backyard. Nothing. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe it was just some teenager messing around. I went back to my room, but I couldn't sleep. Every little noise made me jump. Then, around 2 a.m., I heard tapping. It was faint but unmistakable, someone tapping on glass. I froze. The sound was coming from my bedroom window. I turned my head slowly, and my heart nearly stopped. A face was pressed against the glass, barely visible in the darkness. I could only make out the outline, but I could see his eyes wide open, staring at me. I scrambled for my phone and called the police. I didn't even look back at the window, just ran downstairs and locked myself in the bathroom. The operator stayed on the line with me until the cops arrived. When they searched the property, they didn't find anyone. No footprints, no signs of forced entry. But the scariest part, the window he had been tapping on was on the second floor. There was no ledge, no way to climb up. To this day, I have no idea how he got up there. I worked late shifts at a small diner in my town, and I usually drive home around 1 a.m. It's only a 10-minute drive, mostly down empty roads. I never thought much about it, until the night I realized someone was watching me. That night, I locked up the diner and got into my car like usual. As I pulled onto the main road, I noticed an old white van parked across the street. Something about it gave me a weird feeling, but I brushed it off. A few minutes into my drive, I checked my rearview mirror, and my stomach dropped. The van was behind me. I told myself it was just a coincidence, but as I made turns down different streets, it stayed behind me. My neighborhood was coming up, and I didn't want this person knowing where I lived. Instead of turning, I kept driving, looping through different streets. The van followed every move. I was starting to panic. I had no idea who was in that van or what they wanted. Finally, I made a split-second decision and turned into a gas station parking lot. There were a few cars there, and I pulled up right next to the entrance. The van slowed down but didn't stop. Instead, it crawled past the lot and disappeared around the corner. I sat there for a few minutes, trying to calm down before finally driving home. But just as I pulled into my driveway, my phone buzzed with a notification. A message from an unknown number. It was a photo of me, sitting in my car at the gas station. I never saw the van again after that night, but I still check my mirrors a little too often.
I don't usually talk about this night, but it still lingers in my mind, creeping back in the silence. It happened last fall in my quiet hometown of Elderton, a place where nothing ever happened until the whispers began. It started small, faint murmurs when I was home alone. At first, I thought it was the wind slipping through the cracks in the windows or my mind playing tricks on me. But then I heard my name, clear as day, a soft whisper, "Come here." I froze. My heart pounded, and I looked around the dimly lit room. There was no one. Just me, my book, and the uneasy silence pressing against my ears. Over the next few nights, the whispers became more frequent. Sometimes it was my name. Sometimes it was unintelligible murmuring in the darkness. My cat, usually calm, started avoiding certain corners of the house, staring at something unseen. I wasn't the only one. Friends, neighbors, they all started hearing things. Some felt cold spots in their homes. Others saw shadows where no one stood. The entire town buzzed with quiet fear, but no one wanted to say it out loud. Everything pointed back to the abandoned asylum on the edge of town. An old, rotting building left to decay after a series of unexplained deaths decades ago. The place had a reputation. Kids dared each other to go inside, but no one ever stayed long. One night, I decided I needed answers. A couple of friends agreed to come with me. Armed with flashlights and our phones to record, we entered the asylum just after midnight. The air was heavy, thick with dust and something else. Something unseen. Our footsteps echoed through the empty halls, and the deeper we went, the louder the whispers became. They weren't just in my head anymore. We found a small room with an old, decaying bed and a wooden desk covered in dust. On it, a single item remained untouched by time. A diary. I wiped the cover clean and read the name. Eliza. The pages told her story. She had been a patient here, trapped in isolation, waiting for someone who never came. Her words were desperate, lonely. And then, the last entry. If anyone finds this, please listen. The whispers swelled around us. A sudden chill wrapped around my neck like cold fingers. I couldn't breathe. My friend yanked me back, snapping me out of whatever force had held me still. Let's go. Now. We didn't hesitate. We ran, the whispers following us until we were back outside. As soon as we crossed the threshold, everything stopped. Just silence. That night, the whispers in my house ended. So did the disturbances around town. It was as if someone had finally been heard and let go. I haven't returned to the asylum since, but sometimes, in the quiet of the night, I still feel it. That heavy, watchful presence. And I wonder, was she waiting for me all along?